Hey, welcome back to the show. We're keeping it real. Goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Sports Talk live here on YouTube. It's just me today. We're going to be talking about a lot of the things going on in the wonderful wide world of sports. The NBA Finals, of course, kicked off with Game 1. The Phoenix Suns took Game 1 of the NBA Finals. They're just one step closer to getting their first title in franchise history. We're going to see what the Bucks have to say about live. That's what happens when you're live. Sometimes your mic just cuts out. This is everyone watching at home. This is great too. Let's see. Hopefully it's better. Nope. Hopefully it's better now. Yep, hopefully it is. It sounds like it is. Sorry about that, but yeah, welcome back to the show. We're keeping it real. Goes right. LeBron James might be the most hated athlete ever. The Olympics are not going to have fans this year. Rachel Nichols said something that I think she definitely regrets. Much more coming up here on Real Take Sports Talk. If you haven't already, though, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the NBA, but before we get to the NBA Finals, I do want to talk about the playoffs. Now, one of the big things coming out of the past year was the NBA ratings. A lot of people said that the NBA playoffs are predictable. The NBA playoffs, they're not going to be entertaining. We already know what the teams are going to be. We already know that, it's going to be a variation of the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Nets. Those were the three teams that everyone was talking about. There's the only three teams that really matter. They're the only three teams that have a chance to win. And for a very long time, you can go back to the LeBron James domination of the East that happened for about almost a decade when he was in Miami and Cleveland. You can point to the Golden State Warriors domination of the latter part of the 2010s. You can point to all of that and say that the NBA playoffs we kind of have known in recent years. We've been conditioned to know exactly right about which teams are going to be in it, and everybody else doesn't matter. The NBA had gotten predictable. The NBA had gotten to a point where fans were honestly not interested in what happened in, first, second, or even sometimes the conference finals. It was a given. This year changed that. This year, I had more fun watching the NBA. I had more fun watching the NBA playoffs than I've ever had, honestly, even going back to the Cavs runs when LeBron was there. And the reason for that is not a single series was as predictable as we thought. Were there some that were like, okay, yeah, this team has no chance? Yeah, sure. Like the Miami series, like the series between the Hawks and the Knicks, even though some of those games were entertaining. We knew those games were going to go one way, but nobody expected teams like the Hawks to be in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Nobody expected a team like the Suns to finally break out in the way they did, beat the Lakers, beat Jokic and the reigning MVP Jokic and the Nuggets. Beat the Clippers. And then make it all the way to the NBA Finals. The Bucks. A lot of people wrote off the Bucks, including myself, wrote off the Bucks before the year started. And they're here. And it's a testament not only to the NBA, but to these players. These players, what was proven these playoffs was you don't need a super team to win. What was proven in these playoffs is you don't need to have 5 All-Stars, 3 All-Stars, whatever on a team to win a team like the Nets. You don't need that. What you do need if you are going to be, a team that wants to win a title and compete, what you do need is good sound vision, a good sound vision from the front office to the head coach to the players, and you need everyone to buy into the vision. I'm not saying it's like a foolproof thing. Not every team can execute it, but Phoenix did. Phoenix did execute it. The Bucks did. And look, other than Devin Booker, you could say Chris Paul is a number 2. Chris Paul, the way he's playing right now, he's a superstar. But Chris Paul is not a superstar like Kawhi Leonard or Paul George or Anthony Davis. He's not that kind of number 2, right? You go to Giannis. Giannis, he has Chris Middleton, who can come up big and has come up big. But we don't think of Chris Middleton necessarily as a big-time superstar, and that's the point. The point is, if you build a team and you surround your star with good players and you have the coaching, the game planning to back it up, you can be successful in this league. And I think this is a good thing for small markets. I think this is a good thing for the NBA. I think this is a good thing for fans. I think it's a good thing for these players because they finally, a player like Devin Booker finally was able to break out, finally was able to maybe deliver a championship to the city of Phoenix. We're still a long ways off from there, but they won one game. So is it possible? Yes. But to conclude this thought, I thought the NBA playoffs this year were amazing. I thought there were a lot of moments where you were either caught completely off guard or you were just lost, just completely lost in how great the basketball was. And that's what I can take away from these NBA playoffs. There were so many times where I was just lost completely about, in the game of basketball. And that has not happened for a very long time. So, with that being said, let's talk about the NBA Finals. So, the NBA Finals kicked off. Game 1 was basically taken away from the Bucks by the Phoenix Suns in pretty great fashion. The Suns won Game 1, 118-105. And look, one thing that we saw in Game 1 of these NBA Finals, Chris Paul might be the hungriest player in Finals history. Because the way he played, the way he balled out was insane. 32 points, 9 assists. He was great. He was absolutely amazing. You can tell by the way he's playing, the intensity in his eyes, the intensity in the way he plays the game. Chris Paul, he wants to shut all of the doubters up. Everyone who said, oh, well, Chris Paul can't win the big one. Chris Paul can't win the NBA championship. He's never that always elusive NBA championship. He's looking to prove those people wrong, and Game 1 was a huge step in that direction. Of course, he got help from Devin Booker, who had 27 points. And he also got help from DeAndre Ayton, who, in my opinion, he might be, on there. He's definitely on the list as far as Finals MVP if the Suns do win and if he keeps playing like he did. He had 22 points, 19 rebounds. 19 rebounds, and he's been doing this the entire playoffs. 19 rebounds. He's been rebounding like crazy. He's been scoring like crazy these entire playoffs. The unsung hero of these Phoenix Suns is by far DeAndre Ayton. And again, 22 and 19, that's a damn good average line if they end up taking a few more games here. But Chris Paul got help from who he needed to. The Suns did it. I think Mikal Bridges had 15 points off the bench or 15 points to contribute as well. So the Suns were honestly in control for a lot of this game. The Suns were really they really popped off in the third quarter. It was a little bit of a back and forth, but the Bucks were never really able to, catch up to what the Suns were doing for a very long time. Giannis he did fine, 20 points, 17 boards, but at the same time, you kind of want him to be the one to kind of take over in these moments. I know he's reeling with that injury, and maybe that plays a part in it. Maybe the injury, maybe the hyperextension of the leg does play a part in the way that Giannis is playing and the way that he's being used. And if that's the case, they might need to rethink about their strategy a little bit. Chris Middleton, of course, as I mentioned before, done amazing so far in these playoffs, and he's done amazing. And look, he did his job. That's one thing you can say about this Bucks team. Chris Middleton definitely did his job. He had 29 points. I think he had 7 or 8 rebounds, something like that. He did his job, and it just wasn't enough at the end of the day because, What they really needed was Giannis to kick it into that next gear, and that's the unfortunate part too. And this isn't like, putting pressure on Giannis, like, he needs to play harder, he needs to play past his injury. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in order for the Bucks to win, Giannis needs to regain his form. Giannis needs to heal up. Because they're going to have enough trouble trying to defend DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker at the same time. But you need the offense to back it up. You need the offense. And look, you also need the defense. Giannis' defense is critical for that team's success. And it's been critical all year. So, in conclusion, I wasn't able to give a prediction beforehand, but because we didn't do a show right before the series started. But going into it, I 100% thought and still think that the Suns are going to do it. I said Suns in 6, could be Suns in 5, hell, might be Suns in 4 at this point. But look for the Bucks to come out and fight. The Bucks are not a team that are going to give up. We saw that in the Atlanta series. We saw that in the series before that. This is not a team that's going to give up. But the Suns are a team that's not going to be bullied. That's been their story. They refuse to be bullied. And they went up against LeBron James, bullied LeBron back. They went up against Jokic, bullied him. And they went up against the Clippers, granted without Kawhi Leonard, and bullied them for most of that series. So if I'm a betting man, which sometimes I can be, I'm definitely taking the Suns in this series. Suns in 6. And let me know if you agree or disagree in the chat. And if you haven't already, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. So, I have another interesting thing to talk about, and it does pertain to the NBA. We'll get to it in just a second. Because this is something that's been talked about for a very long time. And it has to do, obviously, with LeBron James, you can see by the graphic. But it also has to do with the mentality of some fans, I think, and, a lack of, I don't want to even say a lack of apathy, or empathy, but a lack of, I think, a lack of rational logic. But let's get into it. Let's really get into this. So, it's no secret that LeBron James gets a lot of hate. People don't like the fact that he started the trend of super teams. People don't like the fact that he flops a lot. People don't like the fact that he can come across as maybe selfish or a bad leader. People don't like the fact that when he retires, he'll likely hold all of the major offensive records in the game. But how far does it go? PicksWise, which is a database, analyzed the tweets from players of all major sports, like the tweets that players from all major sports get, and they broke them down by who gets the most abuse online. And look, if you know anything about the NBA and how some fans feel about LeBron, these results probably will not surprise you. Sorry about that. Let's not TV. Sorry, we'll just roll with it. The results probably won't surprise you. LA Lakers star LeBron James was by far the most abused athlete on Twitter. James had 279% more abusive messages than Marcus Rashford, who was in second place on that list, and the Akron native also received the most LGBT-phobic tweets of any other athlete. So, safe to say that LeBron gets a lot of hate, and there's a lot of fans out there who don't like LeBron. And it's got me and a lot of other people questioning why. Because, like I said, LeBron is a great player. LeBron has been to many finals. And let's see if we can pull up the exact number so we can see these. Okay, boom, right there. So there you can see the count of abusive messages LeBron gets. And look at him compared to the top 5 other people. LeBron's at 122,000, over 122,000. And then Marcus Rashford on that list, second, is at 32,000. And then it just gets smaller and smaller from there. So, again, LeBron is the most hated athlete in the world. I think it's safe to say that. And it's got me questioning why. So, Why is it that some fans hate LeBron? The answer to that question can be rooted back into a few things. There are some people who still feel like the aftermath of the decision, the aftermath of the way he went about that in 2010 when he left Cleveland to Miami, there's still some people who hold him accountable for that and think that he is irredeemable just based off of that. So you have that bunch, and a lot of that at this point is made up of really angry fans of teams who didn't get him that time around, or people who just thought that it was not classy, or fans of teams who LeBron was going to compete with, like the Boston Celtics and so on. Then there's another subgroup. The other subgroup is of these fans who don't like the fact that LeBron James is talked about so much during like SportsCenter, during ESPN's coverage of the NBA, First Take, Undisputed. It's all LeBron talk when they're talking about the NBA. And there's a lot of fans who resent that because they feel that there's an oversaturation of one player representing the product. Now, if you ask me, do I think that those are justifiable reasons to hate LeBron James? No, I don't believe so. I don't think that the decision really signifies who LeBron is now. And if you truly believe it does, then I don't think you've been paying attention to what LeBron has been doing over the past number of years. I don't think you've been paying attention to the fact that LeBron did come back to Cleveland. I don't think you've been paying attention to the fact that LeBron, for the longest time, has been the best player in the NBA. I don't think you're paying attention to the fact that LeBron James, again, I'll say it again, no matter how much it pisses people off, is going to retire with most of all of the major offensive records in NBA history. I don't think that you can honestly say that the 25-year-old LeBron who made that decision, who has come out and apologized profusely, said he regrets it, and that's one thing he would take back from his career if he could. If that's your honest critique of LeBron James and that's what you believe, then it's not good. It's not valid. Then let's take it to the other people. Let's take it to the people who think that there's an oversaturation of LeBron. There's an oversaturation of him. People talk about him too much. Stephen A. Smith only talks about LeBron. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp only talk about LeBron. Nick Wright, who the hell is this guy? Always talking about LeBron. People think that LeBron is talked about too much. And to that I say, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But is that LeBron James's fault that he's talked about so much? Is it LeBron's fault that he just happens to be the best player in the game and the most talked about player in the game? Like, newsflash, guys. Newsflash. Tom Brady is talked about all the time when you're talking about the NFL. Over the past 20 years, you can't talk about the NFL without mentioning Tom Brady's name, because every year, Tom Brady's in the playoffs. Every year, Tom Brady's in the championship hunt. Every year, Tom Brady is arguably the best player in the NFL. But we don't hate Tom Brady. We did, but that was for different reasons. That was because of the Patriots dynasty. And maybe that's what it has to do here too. Maybe these same people who can't stand the pundits talking about LeBron are mad that they don't have his success. Maybe there are some irrational Knicks fans out there who are mad that LeBron didn't come to New York in 2010. And they resent him for it. They resent him for it. They tweet all the time about how much they hate LeBron. Maybe they're just salty. Then you have the last subgroup I'm going to talk about of LeBron haters. These are the LeBron haters who are the... I don't know. I'm going to be very careful about how I word this. These are LeBron haters who take offense to some of his political and social justice stances. And this is the part. This is the one that's like, I think, the most irrational, because they can't stand the fact that LeBron James wants to stand up for the rights of minorities in this country. They can't stand the fact that LeBron James wants to protest peacefully and support people who protest peacefully. They can't stand the fact that LeBron James uses his influence, his wealth, to try to help people. Now, is he perfect? No. You look back at what happened with China and Daryl Morey and his comments on that. I thought those were deplorable. I thought those were terrible. Does that mean that all of the good LeBron's done cancels out? I don't think so. But these same people who want to hate on LeBron for the reasons I just mentioned, they also don't want to support his ideas that actually help people, like supporting people who are victims of police brutality, like supporting laws that would eliminate police brutality or at least tone it down. Even that. Some people don't support. And they want to take it out. Oh, well, I don't like the fact that sports and politics are mixing, and sports and politics have never mixed. If you honestly believe that crap, sports and politics have never mixed, how long have you been watching sports? Sports and politics have always mixed. The thing is, you're mad because they disagree with what you believe. That's what you're mad. These same people, they don't care about the fact that the NFL for a very long time had a partnership, I think they still do, with the military and promoting the military and stuff like that. And again, I'm all for it. I think we need to protect our veterans. I think we need to do a lot more for our veterans. That doesn't mean we need to support wars and things like that. But again, this is not a political show. But that political aspect is part of the reason that people don't like LeBron. Shut up and dribble. We all remember that. In conclusion, LeBron James is the most hated athlete in the world for no reason. He's great. He was great when he came in. He's been great for a long time. And honestly, even though I think he's slowed down a bit, he's still a great player. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's going to have a lot of the records. He's going to be the best player of the past, 10, 15 years. And if you can't deal with that, reality, if you are so warped in your mind that I can't deal with the fact that LeBron James is the greatest player of my generation, you're lying to yourself. And I'm sorry, because it's completely, 100% utterly irrational. But that's just me. That's just what I think. That's just what I think. And again, I accept my biases, right? I'm a Cavs fan. I accept that. But then again, when LeBron left, I was pissed. I was truly pissed when LeBron left. And the thing is, what happened was I personally, got over it. Like a normal human being, I got over it. You know why I got over it, guys? You know why I got over it? Because at the end of the day, you got to appreciate greatness, especially while it's here. That's one thing that I think the passing of Kobe Bryant taught us. Appreciate greatness for as long as you got it, because you will miss it when it's gone. And when LeBron retires, I'm telling you, that is going to be a big hole to fill. It's going to be some big shoes to fill. Because LeBron James, you cannot talk about the past 10, 15 years of basketball. You cannot talk about that without including LeBron James. That is a fact. Deal with it. So moving on, guys. Let's talk about something that is basically just as heavy as this, and that is the drama that is going on ESPN. So Rachel Nichols, who has been a long time reporter for ESPN, a long time analyst as well for the NBA Finals. She's been covering the Finals for the past, I believe, 15, 20 years. She has been benched from that coverage. So let's talk about it. ESPN benched reporter Rachel Nichols from covering the NBA Finals from the sideline after a recording surfaced of her making disparaging comments about her colleague Maria Taylor. And for those of you who don't know, Maria Taylor is the host of the NBA Countdown. She does a lot of other stuff for ESPN, but she's her main thing is the NBA coverage that she does. And she does a good job of it, by the way. In a leaked in a leaked audio clip, Nichols, who is white, reportedly criticized ESPN last year for choosing Taylor, who is black, to report on the sidelines of the NBA Finals over her. So Rachel Nichols is upset about the fact that she wasn't able to get the job of reporting from the sidelines of the finals, and Maria Taylor was. Let's go on to say, the quote from Nichols was, "If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity," which, by the way, I myself know personally, go for it. Just find it somewhere else, she said in this leaked recording. So there's a lot to break down there. It's also worth to note that Nichols, since this came out, did apologize on the jump. She said, quote, "I also don't want to let this moment pass without saying how deeply, deeply sorry I am for disappointing those I hurt, particularly Maria Taylor." She went on to apologize to Maria Taylor. So this was a huge story this week. This was a huge story, and for good reasons, because it speaks to something that I think happens, or at least people think in our society, but they don't say out loud. And here's the thing. There's a lot of bad in this, especially for Rachel Nichols. The only thing that came out of this that was even somewhat productive was the fact that the quiet part was said out loud. Rachel Nichols basically in the leaked audio said that Maria Taylor and her placement in the coverage of the NBA Finals was a diversity hire or a diversity placement, or she was a token person there because she's black. Those were the sentiments. It's very easy to see. And to that, I want to say it's something that I think we need to talk about, because this happens a lot. Anyone who has had a conversation with anything about this topic knows what I'm talking about. It happens a lot. There are people who will use someone's race to delegitimize their accomplishments. There are people who will come out and say, like Rachel Nichols did here, they will say that she's only there because she's black. He's only there because he's brown, or whatever. Completely discrediting the work that people like Maria Taylor have done. Completely ignoring the work that they've put in, the hours, the training, the practice, the mental fatigue that they've put in. This happens all the time. You can say it about brown people, black people, women. You can say it about people in the LGBT community. People try to delegitimize them all the time. And what the thing is, her comments spoke to that. Her comments spoke to that reality that we all know exists, but no one wants to talk about. That being said, of course her comments were horrible. Of course they were terrible. And look, she deserves this punishment for it. And the punishment she got was, instead of Nichols, Malika Andrews will be on the sideline for the NBA Finals. Rachel Nichols is still going to host a jump and what have you, but there's going to be probably some shifting around going on in ESPN over the next few months, I believe, especially concerning Rachel Nichols. It's already been confirmed that Maria Taylor does not want to work with Rachel Nichols, at least for now, at all. So they're going to be kept apart for the next while. Could be forever. Who knows? So the thing is, Rachel Nichols' comments, they spoke to something that I believe we need to have a larger discussion about as a society. And as far as should she be fired, there's a lot of people who are saying that Rachel Nichols should be fired. To that, I will say, I don't believe so. And look, again, I want to make clear that what she said was terrible and reprehensible and indefensible. We can make all the excuses you want. You can't really defend that type of speaking because, again, it's also all like. Here's the thing: it's all rooted out. It's all disproven by the fact that Maria Taylor is really good at her job, like really freaking good. Everyone, really good. So. Again, she's not a diversity hire. She's there because she belongs there. She's there because she deserved it, because she worked for it, and she's good at it. Again, back to Nichols and should she be fired? I personally don't think so. And the reason for that is I believe that we also, while having these constructive conversations, need to talk more about not rehabilitation, but coming to an understanding and having other people come to an understanding and understand the different things that work when you're speaking, especially when you're speaking about something as sensitive as race. So I think that, Rachel Nichols needs to make some steps. She's got to do something to really learn about why what she did was wrong. She needs to take some steps to really learn what that meant, what those comments meant to Maria Taylor. And look, I'm not one to forgive, and I can't forgive. Like that's not up to me. The only person that can forgive Rachel Nichols at this point would be Maria Taylor, because she was the one who was personally affected by those comments. So again, it's a tough issue. They did the right thing, did ESPN. They did the right thing by taking her off the coverage, because not only was it bad optics, it was also just unfair. It would be unfair to Maria Taylor to have her on the coverage and have Maria Taylor giving the sign to Rachel Nichols. So another thing worth to note, Maria Taylor did tweet out something. This is the first tweet she sent out since this whole thing happened. She says, during dark times, I always remember that I am in this position to open doors and light the path that others walk down. I've taken some punches, but that just means I'm still in the fight. Remember to lift as you climb and always keep rising. And she has some photos of her through the years at her job at ESPN, and she's right. She's 100% right. Maria Taylor will rise above all of this. Hopefully, everyone involved in this can move on. That's all you can hope for when something like this happens. And learn. That's the other big thing. People have to learn. So that's all I have to say about that. But yeah. I know those were two very, very serious things back to back, but I do think that they're necessary to talk about. I do think we need to talk about them more. And yeah. So just give me a second, guys. If you haven't already, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. We got daily videos about not just sports, but wrestling as well. Real Take Wrestle Talk on Tuesdays, every single Tuesday with me and my man, the barman, Trevor Sutton. Be sure to check that out as well as we move on to the NFL. This was a very interesting story out of the NFL. Patriots wide receiver N'Keal Harry, former first-round pick of the New England Patriots. I just paused there for no reason. Patriots wide receiver N'Keal Harry and his agent came out and said that N'Keal Harry wants out of New England. He wants to be traded. Here's a quote from N'Keal Harry's agent. Quote, "For the past several months, I have been working in cooperation with the Patriots behind the scenes to put in a plan to allow N'Keal to thrive in New England. Though through 2 seasons, he has 86 targets, which obviously hasn't met the expectations of the Patriots and N'Keal when they drafted a dominant down-the-field threat who was virtually unstoppable at that point in college. Following numerous conversations with the Patriots, I believe it is time for a fresh start, and it's best for both parties if N'Keal moves before the start of training camp. That is why I have informed the Patriots today that I am formally requesting a trade on behalf of my client, said N'Keal Harry's agent, Jamal Tucson. So, for those of you who don't know, N'Keal Harry was someone who a lot of people had high hopes for. Although he was a Patriots wide receiver, and we've seen how those really turn out. The Patriots, when they draft wide receivers, especially in the first round, they tend not to turn out to be superstars, to say the least, right? But he's someone who was drafted, I believe, 32nd overall. It was the year they won the Super Bowl, and he hasn't produced much. I think he has just over 400 yards in his career. Like, that's not what you expect out of a first-round pick. I'm not even sure if he has, like, 3 touchdowns even. Like, he has not been producing to the level of his contemporary. He hasn't been producing to the level of, other people who were drafted after him, like DK Metcalf. So there's a lot there that's left wanting. If you're the Patriots, and look, if you're N'Keal Harry, you're definitely frustrated as well. You're definitely frustrated at the fact that you've only had 400 yards. You're definitely frustrated at the fact that you haven't even had 5 touchdowns in your career. You're definitely frustrated at the fact that you're in an offense that right now with Cam Newton is kind of a run first, pass second type of offense. Could things change with Mac Jones? Maybe, but it doesn't seem like N'Keal Harry is going to be around to see that. And we get to this question of N'Keal Harry. Is N'Keal Harry a bust? And it's easy to say that he is. It's very easy to say. But one thing we have to remember is, even though he's a first-round pick and he hasn't been producing for the Patriots, I think a lot of that is also due to the Patriots system and some of the problems the Patriots had, especially last year. Now, if you want to talk about his first year, I believe he had some injury concerns, and that was a year where Tom Brady was still on the team. There were some injury concerns. There were some other concerns that they had. So he spent a lot of the 2019 season kind of not on the field. So given that, I think he probably, what's best for him is to move on. And if you're going to ask me, is he a bust? I think ask me in a year. If in a year N'Keal Harry doesn't produce, if in a year he's still catching like 30 catches next year or whatever and has like 300 yards, then yes, he's a bust. But I can't bring myself to call this guy a bust right now, especially considering the fact that, 1 year he's injured. Okay, second year, the offense is really out of whack. Like Cam Newton and that Patriots offense was really, they really weren't in sync for especially the latter part of the year. And even when they were, it was a different type of team. It wasn't that pass first Patriots offense. This was a run option, run Cam Newton downhill type of team. Cam Newton also missed some time also, so that played a part into it. So I don't believe it's fair to say he's a bust. The other question coming off of this is he worth for you to trade, and who should trade for him? One of the teams that I saw was interested, and this kind of caught my eye, was the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, who were also reported to want to trade Michael Thomas. There's some discussions going on there as well. Granted, only rumors right now. There's some talk that maybe Michael Thomas might have to go. And if he does go, that N'Keal Harry might be someone they want to bring in, because N'Keal Harry, when he was in college, he was a damn good player. He was a down the field threat. He could get past the cornerbacks very easily, and he was producing. He just hasn't done that since he's been the Patriots. The other side of the coin, however, does kind of make you think: is it N'Keal Harry or the Patriots? Is it maybe Bill Belichick, or on the other side of that coin, is N'Keal Harry actually that good in the NFL, and can he produce? And I don't think we're going to find out until he's on a different team. Are the Saints the right fit for him? I don't think so. I don't think the Saints should trade for him unless you trade for him for like a 6th round pick. If you can trade a 6th round pick and get N'Keal Harry, I'd do it if I'm the Saints, especially if you're considering moving on from Michael Thomas. If you're considering moving on from a person who is your best wide receiver right now, then yeah, you're going to need depth. You're going to need something. And this guy, N'Keal Harry, has this raw potential still, I think, inside of him. and it only takes Sean Payton's offense to get it out of him. So we'll see what happens with that. I just want to talk about that very quickly. All right, let's keep this moving. Again, if you haven't already, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Daily videos, like I've been saying, like a maniac this whole episode. Oh, this next one is kind of fun. This next one is actually pretty fun. I'm excited to talk about this next thing. So here on Real Take Sports Talk, we like to talk about a lot of things. Sports, the NFL, wrestling. But seldom do I ever get to talk about movies. And boy, am I excited to talk about this today. The Kurt Warner biopic is in production. It is filming right now, and they just released a sneak peek of it. And boy, is it something. Warner's life story will be documented on the silver screen with the movie American Underdog hitting theaters December 10th. The movie features and casts stars like Zachary Levi as Warner, Anna Paquin as Warner's wife, Brenda, and Dennis Quaid as Rams head coach Dick Vermeil. That was a big surprise for me. A behind-the-scenes look of the film was released on Wednesday, and it showed some very corny things in this movie, man. I can't show the clip here because I'll get like copyright stricken if I do, but I watched it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But I watched it, and I literally texted my friend right after I watched it, and I said, "This Disney Channel ass movie." Because I got big Disney Channel original movies. Not Disney Channel, like, not Disney movie, right? Not like Disney. I'm talking about Disney Channel original movies. The ones that they used to be exclusively shown on TV, made for TV. That's what this reminded me of. This was some of the corniest, like 90 seconds I've ever seen. Like, and I get it. Look, Kurt Warner is a clean-cut guy. You know, he's a Christian. He's religious. God bless him, right? He's you know, a very serious guy, and this is a very serious movie, but it's really corny from the first look at it. Like, I can't, like, there's, like, look at it. There's this scene of him dancing with his wife at his wedding. It's very nice, you know. God bless Brenda and Kurt Warner and all that. But, like, some of this is just, it's so camp. It's just so camp. Like, They have him being, it's like this inspirational story, and look, his story is inspirational, but it's so corny. It comes across so corny, and the name doesn't help it either, by the way. The name American Underdog coming to Disney Channel. That's what it gets. Like, even the name is really corny. Like, American Underdog, you're telling me you couldn't think of something a little more serious? You couldn't think of something a little more, like, less camp than American Underdog. Rated PG. Like, look, Kurt Warner is a wonderful human being with a great story who is an inspiration to football players everywhere. Going from bagging groceries to, 12 months later being the Super Bowl MVP. Huge leap to say the least. I'm just saying they probably could have done a better job of making it seem more realistic, because this, like, I'm getting, like, you know, Mighty Ducks vibes from this movie. I'm getting not even Mighty Ducks. I'm getting like Kurt Warner's, like this is like this is I don't know. It's just, if you've never seen a Disney Channel original movie, go watch one and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because that's exactly what this seems like. It's just so corny. It's so happy-go-lucky. And maybe I'm just cynical. Maybe I'm just a cynical asshole. And that's why I feel this way. That's why I'm not digging it. But look, I'm sure it'll sell tickets. I'm sure Kurt Warner will do the media tours and it'll be popular. And look, God bless him and good luck. I'm just not going to be watching. I'm not going to be paying to watch this movie. I might review this movie for this channel. Yeah, by the way, I might do that. But ain't no way in hell I'm watching this movie, like, for fun. No, like, look at this. Look at these uniforms, by the way. Look how clean cut they are. Uniforms back in the day were definitely not that clean. There's no way. And look, Kurt Warner, like, does Zachary Levi really look like Kurt Warner? Like, really? No, he doesn't. Although Dennis Quaid, dude, you do kind of look like Dick Vermeil. Also, did they have those? did they have those like vests, those big ass like coat vests back then? I don't think they did. Oh, this movie is supposed to take place in 1999, guys. I don't know. Oh, now I have to review this. This movie is gonna be trash. This movie is gonna be absolute garbage. I can't wait to watch this now. Yeah, is what it is. Sorry, I'm in a I've been in a very cynical mood lately. Let's get to our final official topic of today. And that is some more bad news, but yep, that's the sports world these days right now. Let's talk about the Tokyo Olympics, because that's been in the news for a while. A lot of people wanted it to happen. A lot of people were excited for it, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen with fans. Let's talk about it. The Tokyo Olympics were set to kick off later this month. However, after some spikes in coronavirus cases and some fears of the Delta variant that has been spreading around the world, Japan is on lockdown. Fans were barred from the pandemic-postponed Tokyo Olympics that will open in just about 2 weeks, following a state of emergency declared in Japan on Thursday. The ban was announced by the International Olympic Committee and the Japanese organizers, reducing the games to a made-for-TV event. So it will only be aired on TV, and it won't be a thing where you can go and watch people compete. Although widely expected, the move marked a sharp turnaround from just 2 weeks earlier, when the Olympic organizers said that they aimed to hold games with a limited amount of spectators. So there were people originally planned to fly in for this event, but that's not happening. This is a quote from one of the organizers. It says, "It is regrettable that we are delivering the game in a very limited format, facing the spread of coronavirus infections." Went on to say that, "I am sorry to those who purchased tickets and everyone in local areas." So this is, it's unfortunate news, because as people in the United States especially were getting vaccinated more and more, people were really looking forward to kind of getting back to normal. And, this is still a slow process. This is the thing we need to remember. It's still a slow process worldwide. The vaccinations and getting back to normal is still a very slow process worldwide. The U.S. has been blessed by the fact that we were able to purchase a lot of vaccines very quickly and roll them out very efficiently. Not everyone has been able to do that. Australia recently went back on lockdown after a little bit of a spike and worries from the Delta variant. And they, I believe, only have it's like between 10 and 15% of their entire country vaccinated. And that's because a lot of larger countries have been hoarding the vaccine or buying up more bulks of the vaccine. So it comes to the question of, is this the correct decision to make by the Japanese organizers and by the Olympic Committee? And if you ask me, yes, it is. Because we want to, when people say back to normal, when we say we want sports to go back to normal, we want fans there, you can only do it when you are sure that things are going to be safe. In a country like the United States, where I believe we're at 70% vaccinations, where most of the people who are susceptible to the pandemic, susceptible to the disease, are vaccinated, you can safely hold mass events. You can safely do them without masks. You can safely do all of that. But in other countries where that isn't the case, or where they're still working on and rolling that out, and now this new Delta variant has kind of thrown a wrench at everybody, the correct thing to do is to just wait a little longer. It's not going to hurt anybody to wait a little longer. If these games have to come and go without fans and without spectators, then so be it. If it means that in a year that Japan specifically, who's going to be affected by this, if there is some sort of a spread, if it means that Japan is going to be better for it in a year, then yes, it is totally understandable. It is totally the correct decision. There's really not a logical thought, honestly, to say that this is a wrong decision. You have to do this. If you're the Japanese government, if you're Japanese officials, you have to do the responsible thing, which is not let fans come especially when the country is in a state of emergency. If the country wasn't in a state of emergency and wasn't this concerned about the pandemic spreading, might be a different story. But no, it's unfortunate. I will say this: it is very unfortunate because a lot of people were looking forward to this. A lot of people were looking forward to the Olympics. A lot of people were looking forward to watching a little bit, again, this semblance of normalcy come back because the Olympics were postponed last year. People were excited to have them this year. Unfortunate. As far as how it will affect the athletes, I think it's going to be a similar effect as what we've seen. You know, it's going to be weird. Anyone who says, oh, it's not different or whatever, they're lying to themselves. It's going to be weird because you've been training all your life for the Olympics. You've been training all your life to perform in front of the Olympics, in front of all these people, and that doesn't happen. It's going to feel, I think, more so like a practice than anything else. But it's going to be on a different level. So, again, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I think, for the most part, I don't think it'll have too much of an effect on the athlete's actual performance. It'll probably be a little bit of a weird vibe, trying to kind of get things started and getting into it because you won't have the crowd cheering you on or reacting or anything like that. But that's why I kind of said it's going to feel a little bit like practice, just like a big open practice, but it's like a competition. So, interesting. I'll say that. But what can you do? Anyway, I think that just about does it. I've clocked in about 50 minutes and I've run out of things to talk about. Anything else you guys want to talk about? If not, I think we're gonna go home and end this. I'm sorry we didn't have Johnny G or Andrew on. They were busy and so am I. So we'll do like a makeup one. I promise we'll do a makeup one, a makeup real take sports, and cover some other stuff going on in the wonderful wild world of sports. But just wanted to get this episode out so that we could have something for you guys and clip these obviously throughout the week. But yeah, that's been Real Take Sports. I'm Omer, El Jefe of Real Take Entertainment, Real Take ENT, Real Take Enterprises, whatever you want to say. And I'll see you next time.